Jeffrey's voice didn't just crack across the restaurant, it detonated. "You're dead when we get home." The entire room froze, except for the man at the next table who looked up, eyes cold, calculating a Mafia boss who'd just chosen his target. And when he slid into Jeffrey's seat like he owned the moment, Belinda didn't realize she'd just stepped into a war no one walks away from, unscarred, not even Dante Toscano. If you're hooked in and want to enjoy this story, go ahead and subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see where everyone's watching. Plus, tomorrow I've got another incredible story lined up, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Alright, back to the story. "You're dead when we get home." Jeffrey's voice didn't lower, didn't soften. It cracked across the restaurant like a whip across crystal, sharp enough that the couple at the corner table went still, forks suspended over their truffle risotto. Belinda's hand froze, fingers wrapped around her wineglass stem. The burgundy liquid trembled, or maybe that was just her. She'd been reaching for it because her throat had gone dry after he'd leaned in, his cologne suffocating, and hissed that she'd been eye-fucking the sommelier. She hadn't been. She'd glanced up when the man poured their wine. That was all. But Jeffrey didn't deal in facts. He dealt in perceptions, in control, in making sure she understood that every breath she took outside his approval was borrowed time. "I asked you a question." His fingers found her wrist beneath the table. Not the bruising kind of grip, never where it would show, but firm enough that her bones ached. "Were you flirting with him?" "No." Her voice came out smaller than she wanted, barely more than a whisper. "I was just being polite. You don't smile at other men." Each word landed like a gavel. "Do you understand me?" This was how it always went. A nice dinner, his idea. Always his idea would start pleasantly enough. He'd choose her dress, critique her makeup, and then inevitably something would set him off. A glance, a smile, an imagined betrayal, and she'd pay for it later. 2 years of this, and she still hadn't found the door. "I understand," she whispered. "Good." Jeffrey released her wrist and reached for his scotch. "Because when we get home, you and I are going to have a long conversation about respect." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Belinda reached for her fork again, but her hand was shaking. The fettuccine blurred through tears she refused to let fall. Not here, not in public. That would only make it worse. She didn't notice the man at the table behind her. Not at first. He sat alone, unusual for a Friday night at Bellissimo. Dark suit that fit him like armor. Hair swept back with distinguished silver at the temples. Olive skin, sharp jaw, the kind of face that belonged in old Italian films. But it was his eyes that would have stopped her, if she'd been looking. Dark, watchful, predatory, and currently locked on Jeffrey with an expression that wasn't curiosity. It was calculation. Dante Toscano had been enjoying a quiet dinner when the man's voice cut through the ambient music. He'd heard threats before, had issued plenty himself, but there was something about the way this one landed, the way the woman's entire body seemed to collapse inward, that made his jaw tighten. He watched Jeffrey's hand move beneath the table. Watched the woman's face drain of color. Watched her try to make herself smaller, invisible. Dante knew predators. He'd spent his entire life among them, had become something far more dangerous himself. But the predators in his world operated by certain rules. You didn't target innocents. You didn't terrorize women. You certainly didn't do it in public, arrogant enough to think no one would intervene. Jeffrey stood abruptly, tossing his napkin onto the table. "I need to use the restroom." "Don't move." The moment he disappeared down the hallway, Dante made his decision. He rose from his table with fluid grace, buttoning his suit jacket with one hand. The elderly couple at the corner table watched him with wide eyes as he crossed the space between tables and slid into Jeffrey's still-warm chair. Belinda's head snapped up, confusion flooding her tear-stained face. "You're not safe with him," Dante said quietly. His voice was low, controlled, but there was steel beneath the silk. "And he won't lay another finger on you tonight." "I what?" Belinda's hand flew to her chest. "Who are you?" "Someone who doesn't tolerate men like him." Dante leaned back slightly, giving her space but maintaining unwavering eye contact. "How long?" I don't understand." "How long has he been hurting you?" The question landed like a physical blow. Belinda's mouth opened, closed. Tears spilled over despite her best efforts. 2 years, she whispered. "But he doesn't. He's never actually. He gripped your wrist hard enough that you'll have marks tomorrow. He threatened your life loud enough for half this restaurant to hear. That's not, never actually." Dante's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his dark eyes. "What happens when you get home?" Belinda couldn't speak. The truth was too large, too shameful, too consuming. I thought so. Dante pulled out his phone, tapped something quickly. What's your name? Belinda. Belinda, my name is Dante Toscano. In approximately 30 seconds, your boyfriend is going to return and find me sitting here. He's going to be angry. Let him. Dante's voice remained calm, almost gentle. Do not apologize. Do not try to smooth things over. Just sit there and let me handle this. Can you do that? She nodded, too shocked to do anything else. Footsteps approached from behind her. Jeffrey's voice cut through the restaurant again, louder this time. What the fuck do you think you're doing? Dante looked up slowly, and Belinda watched his expression transform into something that made her blood run cold. Sitting, Dante said simply. You have a problem with that? Jeffrey's face flushed red. That's my seat, and that's my... She's not yours. Dante stood now, and Belinda realized he was taller than Jeffrey, broader. She's a person, and you're done frightening her. Do you know who I am? Dante's voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but somehow it filled the entire space. Two men in dark suits appeared from nowhere, flanking Jeffrey, and Jeffrey's face went white. Dante, Toscano, now you understand. Dante's smile didn't reach his eyes. Leave. Don't come back. Don't call her. Don't text her. Disappear from her life completely, and maybe you walk out of here on your own feet. Jeffrey looked at Belinda, at Dante, at the two men blocking any escape route. Then he turned and walked toward the exit on trembling legs. Belinda sat frozen, her entire world tilting sideways. Dante turned back to her, and his expression softened. You're safe now. I promise you that. He placed a card on the table. This is my number. When you're ready to talk about what happens next, call me. I don't understand any of this. You will, Dante signaled to the waiter. Your dinner is paid for. So is a car to take you wherever you need to go. Just tell the hostess when you're ready. Why are you helping me? Dante paused, something ancient and sad crossing his features. Because someone should have helped someone I loved, once, and no one did. Then he walked out, leaving Belinda alone with her cold pasta and a business card that felt like a key to a door she hadn't known existed. Outside, Jeffrey climbed into his car with shaking hands, not noticing the black SUV that pulled out behind him, not noticing that Dante Toscano's reach extended far beyond restaurant interventions, not noticing, until it was far too late, that he'd just made the worst mistake of his life. Belinda sat alone at the table for 17 minutes before she could move. The restaurant hummed around her laughter from the bar, the clink of dessert spoons against porcelain, someone ordering champagne 3 tables over. Normal sounds. A normal Friday night for everyone except her. Her phone vibrated. Once, twice, 17 times in those 17 minutes. She didn't need to look to know it was Jeffrey. The waiter approached cautiously, as if she might shatter. Miss, your car is waiting whenever you're ready. No rush. Your car. As if she were someone important, someone worth protecting. She looked down at the business card still sitting on the white tablecloth. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. Just a name and a number. Dante Toscano. Who was he? And why had Jeffrey looked like he'd seen a ghost when he heard that name? Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked. Jeffrey. Where the fuck did you go? Jeffrey. Answer me right now. Jeffrey. You're making this so much worse for yourself. Jeffrey. I swear to God, Belinda, if you don't answer. Her hands shook as she silenced it. The waiter was still waiting, patient and kind. I'm ready, she whispered. The car was a black Mercedes with leather seats that smelled like expensive cologne. The driver didn't ask questions, just confirmed her friend Casey's address and pulled smoothly into traffic. Belinda watched the city lights blur past, her mind replaying everything. Jeffrey's grip on her wrist, the stranger's dark eyes. You're not safe with him. The way those two men had appeared like shadows, the way Jeffrey had gone pale, the way he'd left something Jeffrey never did. He never backed down, never surrendered control, unless he was truly afraid. Her phone erupted again. She powered it off completely and felt something loosen in her chest. When was the last time she'd turned off her phone without Jeffrey's permission? When was the last time she'd gone anywhere without texting him her location, her ETA, who she was with? 2 years. 2 years since she'd belonged to herself. Casey opened her apartment door before Belinda could knock, pulling her into a hug so tight it hurt. Oh my God, I got your text. What happened? Are you okay? Did he... I don't know what happened, Belinda said. And then she was crying, really crying, the kind of crying she'd been holding back for months. "Casey, I don't know what just happened." She told Casey everything over chamomile tea neither of them drank, the restaurant, Jeffrey's threat, the stranger who'd sat in Jeffrey's seat like he owned the world, the name that had turned Jeffrey into someone she'd never seen before, someone scared. "Dante Toscano," Casey repeated slowly, already typing into her phone. Her eyes widened. Oh, what?" Casey turned her phone around. The photo showed the same man from the restaurant, but in a different context. He stood outside a courthouse, surrounded by men in suits, his expression carved from granite. The headline read, "Alleged crime family head Dante Toscano walks free after charges dismissed." Belinda's teacup clattered against the saucer. He's Mafia? Not just Mafia. Like, the Mafia in this city. Casey scrolled through more articles. His family's been here for generations. There are rumors, God, Belinda. There are so many rumors. That he runs everything from the docks to half the restaurants downtown. That he's ruthless with anyone who crosses him. But also, she paused, also that he has this weird code. That he protects people. Women especially. There are stories about abusive husbands who just disappeared after their wives got too many bruises. Belinda felt cold. Disappeared? I'm just telling you what I read. Casey grabbed her hand. But Belinda, if Jeffrey knows who he is, if Toscano actually threatened him, maybe that's good? Maybe Jeffrey will finally leave you alone? Belinda's phone, still powered off on the coffee table, suddenly felt like a live grenade. What if he doesn't? She whispered. What if this makes him angrier? What if he comes here? He doesn't know you're here. He knows you're my best friend. It's the first place he'll look. As if summoned by her words, someone pounded on the apartment door. Both women froze. "Belinda!" Jeffrey's voice, muffled but unmistakable. "I know you're in there. Open this fucking door." Casey grabbed her phone. "I'm calling the police." "No." Belinda caught her wrist. "That'll make it worse. He'll talk his way out of it. He always does. He's so charming to them. And then later he'll—" "Belinda!" Another pound. "You can't hide from me. You think some gangster is going to protect you? You think he gives a shit about you? He'll use you up and throw you away. And then where will you be? You'll come crawling back, and I won't be there." Belinda pressed her hands over her ears, but his voice cut through. "You're nothing without me. Do you hear me? Nothing." Casey was already dialing when her apartment buzzer rang, not the knock, but the building entrance intercom. She pressed the button. "Hello? This is building security." A deep, unfamiliar voice. "Ma'am, we're escorting an individual out of your building. He won't be back tonight. We'll have someone posted at the entrance until morning." Casey blinked. "I didn't call security. Nevertheless, you and your guest should rest comfortably." The line went dead. In the hallway, Jeffrey's shouting grew distant, then disappeared entirely. Belinda looked at the business card she'd clutched in her palm the entire drive over, the embossed letters slightly dented from her grip. Dante Toscano. He was already protecting her, and she didn't know if that terrified her or gave her the first real breath she'd taken in 2 years. Probably both. "I need to call him," she said quietly. Casey stared at her. "The Mafia boss? The man who made Jeffrey leave?" Belinda's voice was steadier now. "I need to know why. I need to know what happens next." She powered on her phone 43 missed messages from Jeffrey, each one more unhinged than the last, and dialed the number on the card. He answered on the first ring. "Belinda." Not a question. He'd been waiting. "The security at my friend's building is mine. Jeffrey's gone. He won't touch that door again tonight." "How did you know where I was?" The driver. A pause. "I told you. You're safe now. I meant it." Belinda closed her eyes. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." His voice was quiet, certain. "I want nothing from you except for you to sleep tonight without fear. Can you do that?" She thought about Jeffrey's messages, his rage, his promises of what would happen when he found her. "I don't know," she admitted. "Then I'll make sure you can." Dante's tone shifted, became something almost gentle. "Rest, Belinda. Tomorrow we talk about getting you free. Really free. For good." He hung up before she could respond. Belinda sat in Casey's living room, her cold tea beside her, the business card in her lap, and for the first time in 2 years, she let herself imagine a life where Jeffrey couldn't reach her, where someone stronger, someone dangerous, stood between her and the man who'd promised she was dead, where she might actually survive. Belinda didn't sleep. She lay on Casey's pull-out couch, staring at the ceiling while her phone buzzed like an angry hornet on the coffee table. Jeffrey's messages had evolved from rage to manipulation to something that almost sounded like love, the cycle she knew by heart. Jeffrey, I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean it. You know I love you. Jeffrey, please just come home. We can talk about this. Jeffrey, you're overreacting. That guy was just some psycho. Forget him. Jeffrey, answer me or I swear I'll lid. She turned the phone face down and pulled Casey's spare blanket tighter, even though she wasn't cold. At 3 a.m. her phone rang. Not Jeffrey's name on the screen, Dante Toscano. Her finger hovered over the decline button, but something curiosity, desperation, or maybe just exhaustion made her answer. You're awake. His voice was quiet, as if he knew Casey was sleeping in the next room. How did you know? Because women like you don't sleep the first night. You lie there waiting for him to break down the door. A pause. He won't. My men are watching the building. Belinda sat up, pulling her knees to her chest. Why are you doing this? I told you. No, really. Why? Her voice cracked. You don't know me. I'm nobody. Why would someone like you care if some random woman gets hurt by her boyfriend? The silence stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. Because I watched my sister die, Dante finally said, his voice like gravel. Watched her boyfriend put her in the hospital 3 times. Watched her make excuses, cover bruises, promise us she'd leave. And then one night, he went too far. Another pause. I was 17. I couldn't protect her. I've spent 20 years making sure no one else's sister suffers the same way. Belinda's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready. His tone shifted, became businesslike. Tomorrow morning, my people will go to Jeffrey's apartment. They'll retrieve your belongings, everything. You'll never have to see him again to get your things. But I need your permission. You need my... You're asking permission? You're not my prisoner, Belinda. You're under my protection. There's a difference. She heard ice clinking in a glass. So I'm asking, do you want your things? Or do you want to leave it all behind and start fresh? She thought about her grandmother's jewelry box. Her laptop with the novel she'd been writing before Jeffrey told her it was garbage. The photo albums from before she'd met him, when she still recognized herself in pictures. I want my things. Then you'll have them by noon. Text me a list of what's most important. He paused. And Belinda? Delete his messages without reading them. All of them. You already know what they say. The line went dead. Morning arrived in shades of gray. Casey made coffee and burned toast, her nervous energy filling the small kitchen. So, you're really doing this? Working with the Mafia to get away from Jeffrey? I'm accepting help from someone who's willing to give it. Belinda wrapped her hands around the coffee mug, letting the heat seep into her palms. What else am I supposed to do? Call the police? And tell them what? That Jeffrey threatened me in a restaurant but never actually hit me? That he grabbed my wrist? Belinda laughed bitterly. He's a financial analyst at Morrison & Hague. He wears suits and coaches Little League on weekends. They'll believe him over me. Casey opened her mouth, closed it. They both knew she was right. At 7:00 a.m., Belinda's phone rang again. Different number. Miss Belinda? This is Marco. I work for Mr. Toscano. We're outside your building with your belongings. All of them. She went downstairs with Casey, half expecting a single suitcase. Instead, 2 black SUVs sat at the curb, and 4 men in dark suits were unloading boxes, suitcases, even her potted plants. How did you get all this? Belinda stared at her entire life stacked on the sidewalk. Marco, a man built like a refrigerator with kind eyes, smiled slightly. Mr. Toscano was very thorough with his instructions. We took everything that was yours, left everything that was his. He handed her a manila envelope. These are copies of your apartment lease, your car title, and your bank statements. We thought you might need them. We? Her hands shook as she took the envelope. Mr. Toscano also wanted me to give you this. Marco held out a new phone, still in its box. Your old number will forward to this one, but Jeffrey won't have the new number. Only people you give it to. Belinda looked at the phone, the boxes, the men waiting patiently. This is insane. This is safe, Marco corrected gently. Mr. Toscano will call you this evening. He wants to discuss next steps. He nodded to Casey. Ladies, we'll help you carry everything up. By evening, Casey's apartment looked like a storage unit. Belinda sat on the floor, surrounded by boxes she hadn't opened, holding the new phone. It rang at exactly 6 p.m. You got everything? Dante's voice. Yes, I don't. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to. But we need to talk about Jeffrey. He went to the police this afternoon and filed a harassment complaint. Against me. Belinda's stomach dropped. What? Don't worry. It won't stick. But it means he's desperate and stupid, a dangerous combination. Dante's voice was calm, controlled. He's going to escalate. The question is how far you want me to go to stop him. What do you mean? I mean, I can make him leave you alone permanently. Legally. Mostly. But it requires you to trust me. Really trust me. Ice clinked. I need you to come to my office tomorrow. See what I actually do. Who I actually am. Then decide if you want my help, or if you want to handle this another way. Belinda looked around at her life in boxes. Thought about Jeffrey's 43 messages. Remembered the feeling of his fingers digging into her wrist. Where's your office? I'll send a car at 10. And Belinda? His voice softened. You're braver than you think. Most women don't make it this far. I haven't made it anywhere yet. You left. That's everything. After he hung up, Belinda finally opened Jeffrey's messages. Dante had been right, she already knew what they said. But the last one, sent an hour ago, made her blood run cold. Jeffrey, you think he'll protect you forever? Everyone has a weakness. I'll find his, and then I'll find you. She forwarded it to Dante without comment. His response came immediately. He won't get the chance. Belinda turned off her old phone, activated the new one, and for the first time in 2 years, went to sleep without Jeffrey's voice in her head. Tomorrow, she'd walk into the world of a man dangerous enough to make Jeffrey afraid. And maybe, just maybe, she'd find the strength to become someone Jeffrey should fear too. The car that arrived at 9:55 a.m. wasn't the Mercedes from before. This one was armored. Belinda could tell by the way it sat heavy on its wheels, by the thickness of the windows that didn't quite reflect light the same way. Casey watched from the window, arms crossed. You sure about this? No. Belinda grabbed her new phone. But I'm doing it anyway. The driver was a woman this time, which somehow made everything feel less intimidating. She had sharp eyes and a professional smile. Miss Belinda, I'm Sophia. Mr. Toscano is expecting you. They drove through the city's financial district, past gleaming skyscrapers, then into an older neighborhood where the buildings had character brick and iron, the kind of architecture that had survived a century. The car pulled up to what looked like a restored warehouse with subtle security cameras at every corner. Sophia opened her door. 3rd floor. Elevators to your right. The interior was nothing like Belinda expected. Exposed brick, polished concrete floors, expensive minimalist furniture. It looked more like a tech startup than a crime family headquarters. A young man at the reception desk looked up and smiled. Miss Belinda? Go right up. He's waiting. The elevator doors opened to a space that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Dark leather furniture, bookshelves lined with everything from Machiavelli to modern philosophy. And behind a massive desk sat Dante Toscano, looking exactly as dangerous as she remembered. He stood when she entered. Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? Always. He gestured to the leather chair across from his desk. Coffee? Water? Answers. Belinda sat, gripping her phone like a lifeline. You said I needed to see what you actually do. So show me. Dante's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. Direct. I appreciate that. He opened his laptop, turned it toward her. This is Jeffrey's credit report. As of this morning, his score dropped 60 points. His credit card applications? All denied. Belinda stared at the screen. How did you... His employer received an anonymous tip about expense report irregularities. Nothing concrete, but enough to trigger an internal audit. Dante scrolled to another document. His gym membership was canceled due to multiple complaints about aggressive behavior. His therapist, yes. He sees one suddenly had a scheduling conflict and referred him elsewhere. You're destroying his life. I'm applying pressure. Dante closed the laptop. Men like Jeffrey thrive on control and stability. Take those away, and they spiral. But here's what I need you to understand, this is just the beginning. I can make him disappear from your life completely. New job in another state. Financial incentives to relocate. A reputation that follows him, so no one will rent to him here. That's... Belinda couldn't finish the sentence. Illegal? Sometimes. Ethical? That's for you to decide. Dante leaned back. But it works. I've done this 17 times in the past 5 years. 17 women who sleep without fear now because men like Jeffrey learned there are consequences. Belinda's hands shook. What if he fights back? He already is. Dante pulled out his phone, showed her a screenshot. It was Jeffrey's social media, a long post about being targeted by organized crime for standing up to thugs who harassed his girlfriend. Oh my God. Belinda felt sick. He's making himself the victim. And getting no traction. Look at the comments. She scrolled. Most were supportive at first. But then, bro, multiple people saw you threaten her at that restaurant. My sister works at Bellissimo. She said you were screaming at your girlfriend. This is such obvious manipulation. Get help. How? I didn't post those. Real people did. Dante took his phone back. Because real people were there. They saw what he did. Social consequences are just as powerful as legal ones. Belinda stood, walked to the windows. The city sprawled below, indifferent and enormous. My therapist says I need to process this myself. That having someone else fix my problems isn't healing. Your therapist is partially right. Dante joined her at the window, maintaining respectful distance. You do need to heal. But healing doesn't mean facing your abuser alone. It doesn't mean being noble or strong enough to handle everything yourself. His reflection in the glass was serious. Sometimes healing means accepting that there are people who will stand between you and danger while you recover. And what do you get out of this? Peace. The word was quiet. Knowing I did what I couldn't do for my sister. Belinda turned to face him. Show me the rest. Over the next hour, Dante walked her through everything. His legitimate businesses, restaurants, construction, real estate, the gray areas, political connections, strategic partnerships, and the dark edges he didn't hide from the enforcement, the protection rackets, the violence when necessary. I'm not a good man, Belinda. I want you to understand that clearly. He poured them both coffee from an espresso machine that probably cost more than her car. I've hurt people. I'll hurt more. But I have rules. Children are sacred. Women are protected. Innocents don't get caught in crossfire. And Jeffrey? Jeffrey violated my rules the moment he threatened you in public. Dante's expression hardened. What happens to him now is up to you. I can make him leave the city. I can make him afraid to speak your name. Or I can make him disappear permanently. The weight of that statement settled between them like smoke. I don't want him dead, Belinda whispered. Good. That makes you better than me. Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something flickered across his face. Speaking of Jeffrey, he just called out sick from work. 3rd day this week. He never gets sick. He's falling apart. Dante showed her another message. His mother called him this morning. Apparently his father heard about the incident and isn't pleased. Old money family, reputation matters. Belinda watched the information flow across Dante's phone texts, emails, reports from people she'd never know. A network of eyes and ears dismantling Jeffrey's carefully constructed life piece by piece. This is really happening, she said softly. This is you getting free. Dante met her eyes. But I need to know you're in this. All the way. Because once we push him to the breaking point, he'll either run or he'll snap. And if he snaps, you'll be there. I'll be there. Not a question, a promise. Belinda looked out at the city again, at the life she'd been living down there among those streets, small and terrified and controlled. Then she looked at the man beside her, dangerous, yes, but honest about what he was. I'm in, she said. All the way. Dante nodded once. Then let's finish this. That night, Jeffrey sat in his apartment, Belinda's apartment, technically, though he'd always treated it as his, surrounded by empty beer bottles and unanswered calls. His boss wanted to see him Monday morning. His credit cards were maxed. His friends had stopped returning texts. Even his LinkedIn showed fewer connections than yesterday. And somewhere in the back of his mind, past the rage and the alcohol, a cold fear was growing. The fear that he'd made an enemy of someone who didn't lose. 3 days after their meeting, Belinda found herself standing outside Café Paradiso at 2 p.m., exactly as Dante had requested. Not demanded, requested. The distinction mattered more than she'd expected. The café was tucked into a quiet corner of Little Italy, the kind of place tourists never found. Through the window, she could see him already seated in a private corner booth, reading a newspaper like someone from a different era. Her phone buzzed. Casey, checking in for the 4th time that day. Casey, you okay? Want me to come? Belinda, I'm fine. Just coffee. Casey, with a mafia boss. Belinda, just coffee with a mafia boss. The absurdity of it almost made her laugh. Inside, the cafe smelled like espresso and fresh bread. An older woman behind the counter smiled at her with knowing eyes. You must be Belinda. Go ahead, honey. He's been waiting. Dante stood as she approached, and she noticed details she'd missed before: the slight scar above his left eyebrow, the calluses on his hands when he shook hers, the way his expensive suit couldn't quite hide the shape of something holstered at his side. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, gesturing for her to sit. "You said no pressure." Belinda slid into the booth, grateful for the privacy the high walls provided. "And I meant it." He signaled the server, who brought them both espresso without asking. "How are you sleeping?" The question caught her off guard. Not how are you doing or are you okay, but something specific, something that suggested he understood. "Better," she admitted. "I only woke up twice last night." "Progress." He added sugar to his espresso with precise movements. "And Jeffrey?" "Silent for 36 hours. Belinda wrapped her hands around the tiny cup. "It's almost worse than the messages. Like he's planning something." "He is." Dante's voice remained calm. "His lawyer contacted my lawyer yesterday. Restraining order request. Claims I'm stalking him." Belinda's cup rattled against the saucer. "What?" "It won't go anywhere. Too many witnesses to what actually happened." He met her eyes. "But it confirms what I suspected. He's not running. He's digging in. So what do we do?" "We don't do anything. I handle Jeffrey." "You?" He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "You focus on building a life he can't touch. That's why I asked you here. Not to talk about him." Belinda blinked. "Then why?" "Because for the past hour I've watched you check over your shoulder 4 times. Because your hands haven't stopped shaking since you sat down. Because you're still living like a woman waiting for the other shoe to drop." Dante leaned back, his dark eyes steady on hers. "I want you to tell me something that has nothing to do with Jeffrey. Something you loved before him. Something you want after him." The request was so unexpected that Belinda's practiced responses, "I'm fine, it's okay, don't worry about me," died on her lips. She looked down at her espresso. "I used to write stories. I had a blog, a small following. Jeffrey said it was a waste of time, that I was embarrassing myself, that no one actually read." She stopped. "Sorry, that's still about him. Keep going." "I loved it." The words came softer now, like something fragile. "Creating worlds where people got happy endings, where women were strong, where—" Her voice cracked. "Where they saved themselves." "Why did you stop?" "Because he was in my head every time I tried. His voice telling me it wasn't good enough, that I wasn't good enough." Tears burned behind her eyes. "I couldn't write myself into freedom when I couldn't even imagine what freedom looked like." Dante was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried something she hadn't heard before, not pity, but understanding. "My sister painted. Watercolors mostly. Landscapes. She was talented. Could have sold them in galleries." He traced the rim of his cup. "Her boyfriend told her they were childish. After she died, we found 70 finished paintings hidden in her closet. She'd kept creating them in secret, too afraid to show anyone. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just promise me something." He met her eyes. "Start writing again. Even if it's terrible. Even if he's still in your head. Write anyway." "Why does that matter to you?" "Because men like Jeffrey don't just take safety, they take joy, dreams, the small things that make life worth living." His jaw tightened. "Getting you physically away from him is step 1. Helping you reclaim who you were before him, that's the real victory." Belinda felt something shift in her chest, like a locked door finally opening. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone colder, more transactional." "I can be those things." A slight smile. "But not with you." The statement hung between them, weighted with something neither acknowledged. Their server returned with plates pasta neither had ordered, still steaming. "On the house. Giuseppe says you both look too thin." After she left, Belinda found herself laughing, actually laughing. "Does everyone just do what you say? In this neighborhood?" "Yes." Dante picked up his fork. "Eat. When's the last time you had a real meal?" She couldn't remember. They ate in comfortable silence, and Belinda realized this was the first time in 2 years she'd shared a meal without calculating every bite, every word, every expression, to avoid triggering rage. "This is nice," she said quietly. "It's supposed to be." Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened almost imperceptibly. "I need to tell you something. Jeffrey was fired this morning." The pasta turned to ash in her mouth. "What?" "The audit found irregularities. Not enough for prosecution, but enough for termination." He set his phone down. "He's going to blame you. And me. And he's going to be desperate. Desperate men are dangerous men." "Yes." Dante's hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching hers, which is why I'm not letting you out of my sight until this is finished. That's not, you can't just... I can, and I will. His voice left no room for argument. You stay with Casey, but my people watch the building 24/7. You go anywhere, Sophia drives you. You see anything suspicious? You call me first, not the police. Me? This is insane. This is survival. He finally closed the distance, his hand covering hers. His skin was warm, rough with calluses. Belinda, I've seen how this ends when women try to handle it alone. I've buried the evidence. I won't bury you. Her breath caught at the intensity in his eyes, not romance, not possession, but something fiercer. Protection as a promise, as a vow. Okay, she whispered. Okay. His phone buzzed again, then again. He looked at the screen and stood abruptly. I need to make a call. Stay here. Don't leave this booth. What's wrong? Jeffrey just posted your address online. All of them, Casey's apartment, your parents' house, your workplace. Dante's voice was ice. He's weaponizing the internet. Oh God. I'm handling it. He was already dialing. Marco, I need a full digital sweep. Now. And get me the IP address. Belinda watched him walk to the cafe's back room, phone pressed to his ear, his entire demeanor shifting into something lethal. She looked down at her half-eaten pasta and realized with startling clarity she wasn't falling for a dangerous man. She was discovering what safety actually felt like, and it was terrifying. 23 days. That's how long Belinda had been living in a world without Jeffrey's physical presence. Though his shadow lingered like smoke she couldn't quite clear from her lungs. She stood in Casey's kitchen on a Wednesday morning, actually making breakfast, scrambled eggs with herbs, toast that wasn't burned, fresh coffee, small victories that felt monumental. You're humming, Casey said, appearing in the doorway with bedhead and surprise written across her face. Belinda froze, spatula midair. I am? First time in. God, I can't even remember. Casey grabbed a mug. It's nice. You should do it more. After Casey left for work, Belinda opened her laptop, the one Dante's people had retrieved from Jeffrey's apartment, and stared at the blank document. She'd been staring at blank documents for 3 weeks now, Dante's words echoing in her head. Right anyway. Her fingers found the keys. Chapter 1. The Woman Who Learned to Breathe. The words came slowly at first, then faster. A story about a woman who'd forgotten she had lungs until someone reminded her that air was free. It was rough, probably terrible, but it was hers. Her phone rang at 1:01 a.m., Dante's daily check-in, so punctual she could set her watch by it. Good morning. His voice had become familiar, something she looked forward to instead of dreaded. I wrote something today. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Just a few pages, but that's excellent. She could hear the smile in his voice. See? He's not in your head anymore. He's still there, just quieter. Progress is progress. A pause. I'm sending a car at 2. There's something I want to show you. Dante. Trust me. She'd learned that when Dante Toscano said trust me, he meant it. Sophia picked her up in the armored Mercedes, driving them out of the city into suburbs Belinda didn't recognize. They pulled up to a small but beautiful townhouse with a "For Rent" sign in the yard. Dante was waiting on the porch, holding keys. What is this? Belinda asked, climbing out of the car. Possibility. He unlocked the door, gesturing for her to enter first. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, security system already installed. The landlord is amenable to particular tenants. The townhouse was perfect hardwood floors, natural light streaming through large windows, a reading nook that made her heart ache with want. I can't afford this, Belinda said quietly. The rent is reasonable, and you're starting your new job Monday. She turned to face him. What new job? Marketing coordinator at Castellano Publishing. They need someone who understands storytelling, digital presence, creative vision. Dante leaned against the doorframe. I may have mentioned you were available. You got me a job? Her voice rose. Without asking, I arranged an interview. You got yourself the job they called this morning. Said your portfolio was exactly what they needed. His expression remained neutral. Unless you don't want it. Belinda opened her mouth, closed it. She'd sent that portfolio out weeks ago, before Jeffrey, when she'd still believed in futures. How did you... Your laptop. I had my tech people recover old files Jeffrey had made you delete. Dante pushed off the doorframe. Your writing samples, your design work, it was all still there. Just hidden. Something in her chest cracked open. He made me delete everything. He tried to erase you. He failed. Dante walked to the window overlooking a small backyard. This place is yours if you want it. First month's rent is handled. Security deposit waived. After that, your new salary covers it easily. Why are you doing this? Because Casey's apartment is temporary, and you need space to rebuild. Because every day you stay dependent on others is another day you don't feel fully free. He turned to face her. And because watching you become yourself again is... He stopped, something unreadable crossing his features. It matters to me. The air between them shifted, charged with something neither named. Belinda's phone shattered the moment, not her new phone, but the old one she'd kept powered off in her purse. She'd forgotten it was even there. It was ringing. Jeffrey. She stared at it like a snake that had crawled out of her bag. Don't answer. Dante's voice was sharp, but she was already reaching for it, some old reflex overriding common sense. She answered, putting it on speaker with shaking hands. Belinda. Jeffrey's voice was wrong, slurred, manic, fractured. Finally, I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Jeffrey, do you know what you've done to me? Do you? Something crashed in the background. I lost everything. My job, my apartment, they won't renew my lease. My family won't return my calls. Everyone thinks I'm some kind of monster because of you and your gangster boyfriend. Dante moved closer, his presence solid beside her. I didn't do anything, Belinda said, her voice steadier than she felt. You did this to yourself. I loved you. The words came out as a roar. I gave you everything, and you destroyed me. You threatened to kill me in a restaurant full of people. Her voice was ice now, something new and hard rising in her chest. You grabbed me, controlled me, made me afraid to breathe wrong for 2 years. You destroyed yourself, Jeffrey. Silence. Then a sound that might have been laughing or crying. You think you're safe with him? You think he's your hero? Jeffrey's voice dropped to something venomous. He's a criminal, Belinda. A killer. And when he's done with you, when you're not useful anymore, he'll throw you away like garbage. Just like I should have. Goodbye, Jeffrey. She ended the call, her entire body shaking. Dante took the phone from her hands and removed the battery in one smooth motion. He's unraveling. He sounded insane. He's drunk, fired, and desperate. The most dangerous combination. Dante's jaw was tight. Marco's been watching him. He's barely left his apartment in days. Drinking heavily. Not sleeping. This call means he's escalating. What do we do? You do nothing. You take this townhouse, start your new job, keep writing. Dante's hand found her shoulder, steady and warm. I handle Jeffrey. That's the arrangement. But, Belinda. He turned her to face him, his dark eyes intense. You're finally breathing again. Don't let him take that away, even from a distance. Promise me. She nodded, not trusting her voice. What she didn't say, that breathing felt different when he was around. That safety had started to feel like something else entirely. That she was terrified of trading one kind of dependence for another, even if this one felt nothing like Jeffrey's prison. That night, Sophia drove her back to Casey's apartment. Security was doubled, 2 men in a car across the street, another at the building's entrance. Belinda lay awake, thinking about the townhouse with its reading nook and natural light, about the job that would let her work with words again, about Dante's hand on her shoulder, solid and real, and about Jeffrey's voice, cracking apart on the phone, promising destruction. Somewhere across the city, Jeffrey sat in the dark, surrounded by empty bottles, scrolling through photos of Belinda on his phone. In one, she was smiling, really smiling, something he hadn't seen in months. She was standing next to Dante Toscano outside a cafe, her hand on his arm, looking up at him like he'd hung the moon. Jeffrey's grip tightened on his phone until the screen cracked. He knew where that cafe was. He knew their patterns now he'd been watching. And tomorrow, he'd stop watching and start acting. Jeffrey watched from his car as Belinda stepped out of Cafe Paradiso, laughing at something Dante had said. Laughing. When was the last time she'd laughed with him like that? 3 weeks of surveillance had taught him their patterns. Dante picked her up every Thursday at 2. They'd have coffee, talk for hours, and she'd emerge looking lighter, freer. It made him sick. His hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. The rational part of his brain, the part that had earned him a finance degree in a corner office, whispered that he should walk away, move to another city, start over. But the other part, the part that had been growing louder since the restaurant, demanded retribution. She'd humiliated him, destroyed his career, turned his own family against him with lies and manipulation, and Toscano, that criminal, had enabled all of it. Jeffrey pulled up his phone, scrolling through the contacts until he found Marcus Chen. Marcus, who'd been fired from Dante's organization 5 years ago. Marcus, who had scores to settle and information to sell. They met in a parking garage at midnight. "You're sure about this?" Marcus asked, lighting a cigarette. "Toscano doesn't forget, doesn't forgive." "I'm sure." Jeffrey handed him an envelope of cash, his last savings. "I just need to know where he lives, where he takes her." Marcus counted the bills, then scribbled an address. His estate, 30 acres outside the city, gated, security everywhere. He looked up. "But Thursday nights, he sends most of his guards home. Some tradition about not mixing family time with business. You'd have maybe a 2-hour window. That's all I need." "You're not going to—" "I'm going to talk to her." Jeffrey's voice was measured, controlled. "Just talk. Make her see reason. She'll listen once Toscano's not poisoning her against me." Marcus didn't look convinced, but he pocketed the cash anyway. "Your funeral, man." Thursday arrived like Judgment Day. Belinda spent the morning at her new job, organizing a book launch campaign that actually excited her. Her coworkers were kind, treated her like she had valuable ideas. It felt surreal. At lunch, she called Dante. "Thank you. For the job referral. For everything. You earned it." She could hear paperwork shuffling. "Still on for tonight? I want to show you the security features at the townhouse before you move in Saturday. I'll be ready at 7. "Belinda." His voice softened. "You sound happy." "I am. Is that okay?" "It's everything." She hung up, feeling like the sun had come out after years of rain. At 6:55 p.m., Sophia pulled up to Casey's building. But instead of the usual Mercedes, it was a different car, sleeker, more personal. "Mr. Toscano is driving tonight," Sophia explained. "Said something about wanting to show you the property himself." Dante arrived 10 minutes later in a black Audi that probably cost more than most houses. He opened her door himself, something she noticed he always did. "You didn't have to drive personally," Belinda said. "I wanted to." His eyes held hers a moment longer than necessary. "Besides, I'm tired of conducting our conversations through security glass." The estate was 40 minutes outside the city, down a private road that wound through old-growth forest. Gates opened automatically, revealing a property that looked like something from a film, stone and glass architecture, perfectly landscaped grounds, security so subtle you'd miss it if you weren't looking. "This is where you live?" Belinda breathed. "Where I exist. There's a difference." Dante parked in the circular drive. "Come on. I'll show you what real security looks like so you'll feel better about the townhouse system." Inside was elegant minimalism, expensive but not showy. He walked her through camera placements, panic buttons, reinforced entry points. "This is insane," Belinda said. "Do you really need all this?" "In my world? Yes." Dante opened French doors to a terrace overlooking gardens. "But tonight, most of my people are off. Thursday tradition, I give them time with their families." "That's kind. It's human." He poured 2 glasses of wine. "Even dangerous men need to remember that." They talked as the sun set, about everything and nothing. Her writing, his sister, the strange path that had brought them to this moment. "I should probably tell you something," Belinda said, the wine making her brave. "I Googled you. Really Googled you. The articles, the rumors, all of it. And I'm still here." She met his eyes. "That should probably scare me." "Should it?" Dante moved closer, his voice low. "Are you afraid of me, Belinda?" "No." The word came out as a whisper. "That's what scares me." The distance between them evaporated like morning fog. His hand found her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone, and she leaned into the touch like someone starving. "We should," he started. The security alarm shattered the moment. Dante's entire demeanor changed, hand moving to the weapon she knew he carried. "Stay behind me." On the monitor, a car was forcing its way through the estate gates. Jeffrey's car. "He found us." Dante's voice was ice. "Get inside. Lock the bathroom door. Don't come out until I tell you." "Dante." "Now, Belinda." She ran. Outside, Jeffrey stumbled out of his car, something metallic glinting in his hand. A gun. Dante pulled his phone, dialing even as he chambered around in his own weapon. "Marco. Code red at the estate. Subject is armed. I need backup now." Through the window, he watched Jeffrey approach, swaying drunk, weapon raised. "Belinda!" Jeffrey's voice cracked across the grounds. "I know you're in there. Come out and talk to me. That's all I want. Just talk." Dante stepped onto the terrace, weapon raised but pointed down. "Leave. Now. Last warning." Jeffrey's laugh was unhinged. Or what? You'll kill me? Go ahead. I've got nothing left anyway. She took everything. She took nothing. You destroyed yourself. With your help. Jeffrey raised the gun, barrel shaking. You think you saved her? You're just another cage. She'll figure that out eventually. The difference, Dante said quietly, is I'll open the door when she asks. Jeffrey fired. The shot went wide, shattering a window. Dante didn't flinch, calculating distance and angles with practiced precision. That was your one. Dante's voice carried deadly calm. Drop it or the next move is mine. Jeffrey's face crumpled, tears streaming. I loved her. No, you owned her. There's a difference you'll never understand. Behind him, Belinda emerged from the house despite his orders, unable to stay hidden while Dante faced danger. Jeffrey saw her and his face transformed, hope and rage mixing into something desperate. Baby, please, tell him you forgive me. We can start over. I'll be better. I swear I'll... Goodbye, Jeffrey. Her voice was steady, final. Something in him shattered. He raised the gun again, this time pointing it at his own head. Don't, Dante started, but Jeffrey didn't pull the trigger. His hand dropped, weapon falling to the grass as he collapsed, sobbing. Sirens approached in the distance, Dante's people, arriving like shadows. Within minutes, Jeffrey was in custody, incoherent and broken. Dante spoke quietly with his officers. Belinda realized, though no one said it aloud. When they were finally alone, Belinda walked to Dante on shaking legs. You came out, he said. I told you to stay inside. I couldn't let you face him alone. I'm always alone when it matters. Not anymore. She took his hand. Not if you don't want to be. Dante pulled her close, his heart hammering against her ear. He could have killed you, but he didn't. You made sure of that. They stood like that as police lights painted the estate in red and blue, as the last piece of her old life was loaded into a squad car, as everything shifted into what came next. The morning after the estate, Belinda woke in a bedroom that wasn't hers. Sunlight filtered through heavy linen curtains, falling across crisp white sheets, and the faint scent of Dante's cologne on the pillow beside her. She'd cried herself to sleep in his arms on the couch downstairs. Sometime before dawn, he'd carried her up here and stayed, until her breathing evened out. The other side of the bed was cold now. He was already gone. She found him on the terrace where it had all happened less than 12 hours ago. Broken glass had been swept away, the bullet hole in the stone planter already patched. Dante stood at the railing in a black sweater, sleeves pushed up, coffee in one hand and phone in the other. His knuckles were bruised. He turned when he heard her bare feet on the tile. The hardness in his face softened the instant he saw her. You should still be sleeping, he said quietly. I woke up and you weren't there. Her voice cracked on the last word. She hated how small it sounded. Dante set the coffee down and crossed to her in 3 strides. He didn't ask permission. He simply pulled her into him, arms locking around her like he could still shield her from the night before. She buried her face in his chest and felt the tremor that ran through him when she started shaking again. He almost killed you, she whispered against his sweater. He didn't. Dante's hand slid into her hair. He never even got close. Down on the lawn, 2 of his men were loading the last of Jeffrey's abandoned car onto a flatbed. It would disappear by noon. Everything would disappear. Belinda pulled back just enough to look up at him. What happens to him now? He's in a facility I own. No bars on the windows, but he's not leaving until he's sober, medicated, and no longer a threat. Dante's jaw flexed. Doctors, therapists, whatever it takes. If he ever wants to see daylight again, he'll sign whatever papers keep him 1,000 miles away from you. Permanently. That's not the legal system. No, Dante said, meeting her eyes without flinching. It's mine, and it works. She should have argued, should have insisted on police reports and court dates and justice served in daylight, but all she felt was relief so sharp it hurt. I keep replaying it, she said. The gun, the way he looked at me like I was the one who broke him. Dante's hands framed her face, thumbs brushing away tears she hadn't realized were falling. Listen to me. You didn't break him. Men like Jeffrey break themselves the moment they decide another person's fear is theirs to own. You just stopped letting him own yours. She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. I'm tired of being afraid. Then don't be. Simple, certain, terrifying in its promise. His phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen and the air around him shifted like a blade sliding into a sheath. What is it? She asked. Jeffrey tried to hang himself an hour ago. Guards cut him down in time. Dante's voice was flat, but his eyes were stormy. He left a note. Belinda's stomach lurched. What did it say? Dante hesitated the first time she'd ever seen him do that, then handed her the phone. A single photograph. A torn piece of paper in Jeffrey's shaking handwriting. I'm sorry I wasn't enough for you to stay. She stared at the words until they blurred. Guilt and rage and grief collided inside her chest, threatening to split her open. He doesn't get to do this, she said, voice rising. He doesn't get to make me the villain one last time. Dante took the phone, pocketed it, and cupped the back of her neck. Then don't let him. You survived him, Belinda. Now live louder than his ghost. She looked out over the gardens, at the exact spot where Jeffrey had collapsed, sobbing 12 hours earlier. The grass was already perfect again. Evidence erased, life continuing. Something inside her hardened, then cracked open into fierce, bright resolve. I want to see him, she said. Dante studied her face for a long moment. You don't have to. I know. But I need to look him in the eye and tell him goodbye myself. One last time. Then I never speak his name again. Dante's answer was immediate. I'll take you this afternoon. He started to step away. She caught his hand. Dante. Her voice was steady now. Thank you for standing between me and the bullet last night. His eyes darkened. Always. The word settled between them like a vow neither of them was ready to name yet. But both of them felt it. The facility looked more like a private rehabilitation center than a prison. Pale stone walls, manicured gardens, discreet men in quiet corners. Belinda walked the hallway beside Dante, heels clicking on polished tile, heart hammering so hard she felt it in her teeth. She had asked for this. She would not look away. Jeffrey sat on the edge of a narrow bed, wrists bandaged, eyes hollow. When the door opened, he flinched, then stared at her like she was a ghost. Belinda stopped 3 feet away. Dante stayed behind her, silent, immovable. Jeffrey tried to stand. The guards pushed him gently back down. Belinda, his voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She waited until the apology hung empty in the air. I didn't come for sorry, she said. I came to tell you goodbye. His mouth trembled. I know I hurt you. You don't get to list my scars so you can feel forgiven. Her voice was calm steel. You threatened to kill me. You put a gun in your hand and drove to the home of the man protecting me. You tried to kill yourself to punish me one last time. That's not love, Jeffrey. That's ownership, and I'm taking myself back. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I don't know who I am without you. That's the first honest thing you've ever said. She stepped closer. Get better. Or don't. Stay here, or disappear. But never ever come near me again. I'm not your redemption story. She turned to leave. Belinda. Goodbye. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like freedom. Outside in the corridor, she kept walking until her legs gave out. Dante caught her before she hit the floor, pulling her against him as the sobs finally tore loose. He held her through every shake, every broken sound, until there was nothing left but exhausted quiet. In the car on the way home, she stared out the window and realized she wasn't crying for Jeffrey anymore. She was crying for the girl who once believed love had to hurt. 3 months later, the restraining order was permanent, signed and sealed. Jeffrey had vanished to some treatment program in Arizona. Dante's quiet arrangement. Belinda never asked for the address. She moved into the townhouse the week the papers were finalized. Dante carried the last box himself, set it down in the empty living room, and looked at her like he was waiting for permission to leave. Instead, she kissed him. Not soft, not tentative. A kiss that said, thank you, and I see you, and I'm still here. He answered like a man who'd been holding his breath for months, hands careful even as they pulled her closer. When they broke apart, foreheads touching, he whispered her name like a prayer. That night they made love in the new bed with the windows open and the city lights spilling across the sheets. No shadows. No fear. Just the two of them learning what gentle felt like when it wasn't a trick. Afterward, he traced lazy circles on her back and asked, what do you want your life to look like now? She thought of the manuscript on her desk, half-finished, fierce, honest. She thought of the women who still texted her in the middle of the night because her blog post, How I Left, had gone viral. She thought of the spare bedroom she'd already started turning into a safe space. I want to keep writing, she said, and I want to help the ones who are still too scared to leave. Dante pressed a kiss to her shoulder. Then we'll make sure they have somewhere to go. She fell asleep to the steady beat of his heart and woke up the next morning without dread sitting on her chest for the first time in years. The storm was over. She was the calm that came after and the lightning still crackling inside it. 6 months later, the woman on Belinda's doorstep was 26, shaking so hard her teeth chattered in the October chill. A split lip, fresh fingerprints blooming purple on her throat, eyes that had forgotten how to trust. "I read your post," she whispered. You said if I ever needed somewhere safe." Belinda stepped aside without hesitation. "Come in, Lily. You're home now." Behind her, the townhouse smelled of coffee and cinnamon rolls, ordinary things that felt like miracles to someone who'd spent the night hiding in a parking garage. Dante was already in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, quietly sliding a second mug across the counter, the way he'd done for 3 women before Lily. He didn't speak. He simply nodded once, the silent promise that no one would get through that door unless Belinda allowed it. Lily flinched when Dante moved. Belinda caught her hand. "He's with us," she said softly. "He's the reason the locks are steel and the cameras see everything. You're safe." By midnight, Lily was asleep in the spare room that now had a real bed, soft blankets, and a handwritten note on the pillow. "You made it out. That's the hardest part." Belinda closed the door and found Dante in the hallway, watching her with something that looked a lot like awe. "You built this," he said. "Not me, you." She shook her head. "We built it. You gave me the walls. I just learned how to open the door." He pulled her close, kissed her temple. "You opened it wider than I ever did." The next morning she drove Lily to the women's center downtown, the one that had turned her away 2 years ago for lack of space. Now there was a new wing with Belinda's name on the dedication plaque, funded quietly through Dante's construction company and every cent of profit from her best-selling memoir, The Night He Said I Was Dead. She stood in the lobby and watched Lily hug the counselor, watched fear start to loosen its grip, and felt the final piece of herself click into place. That night, on the terrace of Dante's estate, now she set her laptop on the railing and turned it toward him. "Finished," she said. The title page glowed in the moonlight. To the women still waiting for someone to stand between them and the bullet, "This one's for you." Dante read the dedication, closed the lid gently, and took her face in his hands. "I was at the next table," he said, voice rough, waiting for a reason to believe the world still had good left in it. "Then you looked up with those terrified eyes and decided to live anyway." Belinda laughed through sudden tears. "And you decided a stranger was worth burning your whole world down for." "I'd burn it again. Every time." She rose on her toes and kissed him slow, certain, home. Below them, the city sparkled like it had the night everything began. Only now she wasn't shrinking in a restaurant corner. She was standing on a terrace with the man who'd caught her when she fell, building something bigger than either of them. Her phone buzzed. Another message from a woman who'd just left her own restaurant nightmare, asking if the rumors were true, if there really was a safe place now. Belinda typed back without hesitation. "There is. Doors open. You're not alone anymore." She hit send, slipped her hand into Dante's, and looked out over the lights. Once upon a time, a toxic boyfriend yelled, "You're dead when we get home." A Mafia boss at the next table heard her heartbeat stutter and decided the story would end differently. And a terrified woman discovered that survival wasn't the end. It was only the moment she became the one who stands in the doorway, arms open, ready to catch the next shaking soul running for her life. Belinda smiled into the night, fierce and unafraid. The protector had arrived, and she was never leaving. Thanks for sticking with this story till the end. If you enjoyed it, you're going to love the next one. It's packed with unexpected turns and heartfelt moments. Click the image on your screen to keep the journey going, and make sure to hit subscribe for more amazing stories. Drop a comment and rate this story from 1 to 10. I can't wait to see what you think.